for us, we always go to the talent first and say, what do you love? What if you could be a spokesperson for any brand, who would it be? And then go target that company or that handful of people. Like, it's not necessarily always trying to blanket every single brand out there with these new opportunities, because some of these buyers are getting 500 emails a day in their inbox. And the one that's going to stand out is the one that actually is meaningful and the one that actually has a true connection.
Hey everybody, welcome back to yet another episode of EventSpeak with me, Big John, CEO of Beyond Experiential. This is Industry Spotlight, which is a new series that we've launched off of my show, where we put the spotlight on something going on exciting in the event industry. And this is quite exciting, as a brand new agency has launched under the umbrella of the Danny Wimmers Presents, a big cost promoter here. She's a dear friend of mine. She's our first ever return guest to the show. I'm excited to welcome the president of the Brandmark agency, Maureen Valker Barlow. Maureen, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you and be here
Yes.
again. Couldn't be happier. Here we are, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
I was just going to say, even since we had you on the show a couple months ago, like, things have clearly getting underway and more steam is picked up. And now here you are, launching a brand new agency. But just for the sake of continuity and for any of our audience that maybe didn't catch the first interview we did with you, which is on the EventSpeak network, guys. That's eventspeak.com if you want to see our first interview that we did. But Maureen, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and who the Brandmark agency is.
Absolutely. So we just launched Brandmark. We're so excited to do that. I have two roles now, and I sit in two different seats. So I'm still the executive vice president for Danny Wimmer Presents. Danny Wimmer Presents is one of the largest independent concert promoters in the U.S. We primarily focus on the rock space, and we have most of the large destination rock festivals. If somebody's going to a destination rock fest, it's probably one of ours. Metallica is slated to headline the shows that we are planning to have in 2021, so that's very exciting. And we also have a bourbon festival and a country festival, and we're looking to expand and acquire some other events. So as we see the light at the end of the tunnel in 21 and into 22, there'll probably be a lot more exciting things on the horizon for DWP.
Sure.
And then on the other side of that, we just launched Brandmark. And, the quick Reader's Digest is, for a very long time, I've sort of had this side hustle, if you will, where we represented talent or represented outside festivals or done brand work or experiential for brands that didn't necessarily fall in the scope of DWP's core business or the company's core business. And so we've been doing it, actually, in all reality, for a really long time. We just decided to give it its own identity, put a hat on it, give it a website, and create a little bit of differentiation between DWP, since most people do think all things rock when they think of DWP. And we want to have a little bit more diversity and a little bit be able to spread our wings a little bit wider and farther, and be able to go out and look for different opportunities for all the talent we represent or the different properties that we represent. So we do quite a few different sort of pillars of business at Brandmark, but it feels really good to give it its own identity, and we're super excited about it. We're looking forward to growing it, and it's all about the team. It's certainly not just myself. It's been a team effort from the get-go. And that's one of the things during the pandemic that we were really able to sort of identify was an area of growth for our business. And I would say that was one of the driving forces behind why we decided to give it its own name.
Sure, sure. Now, is it something, I know that you'd been in this business a long time. You came to Danny last year and sort of just hit the ground running. And it sounds like from what conversations you and I had off camera, it sort of took life of itself, and the consensus amongst, all of you was like, well, then we should turn this into, an actual thing. So
Yeah.
would you say that this has greatly changed your role at DWP to what you're doing there? Because you're wearing two hats now, obviously, but acting as a president of a new agency has got to be a full-time job in itself. So have you seen it change your responsibilities vastly, and how do you balance? That's got to be you're kind of doing this.
Yeah, well, that's a multi-pronged answer. A lot to unpack there. So the short answer is not really. Like, my responsibilities have not changed that much because, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. So, it really started with the festival sponsorships, and we would be at the shows where we have all of these great partners on site activating, and we would be approached by the labels or the managers or the agents and say, hey, our bands could really use a little extra help in this department. Maybe you could bring some of the partners that you're working with here over to some of the things that we're doing over here, whether it be a tour sponsorship or a licensing deal or an endorsement deal or what have you. And so that's what we did. We sort of looked for different opportunities, and it allowed us to sort of spread our wings in terms of, working on behalf of hip hop artists or doing things in EDM or doing things in other genres of music, and being able to have more conversations with brands that ultimately could sort of translate back to the mothership, right? Because we're all about customer service and delivering a really great experience for our clients. And then once they see, like, oh, wow, these guys are very thorough and they've held our hand from top to bottom. And, we're not just like a broker or anything like that. We help do the narrative and the storytelling and the creative, we're as involved as the brands want us to be, or not involved, right? Like, we could just broker a deal, but if they want us to help them write copy and identify influencers to work with, we do all of that and then help them execute it as well. So that's kind of something that we've been doing this whole time. And really, I think just putting the name on the agency just brought in more business for us, which is a good thing, because now we're sort of on the map, because we've been working with so many people for so long who kind of knew we did it, but now we've put it out into the world. So now a lot more people know that this is a service that we have available for the world to use. And we can talk about this a little bit more, but one of the most exciting parts of launching Brandmark is we actually partnered up with Artist Group International, and they have an incredible roster of talent, from new and upcoming rock bands to, Billy Joel and Norah Jones and the Smashing Pumpkins and Kids.
Wow, yeah.
And some of the best franchises that are music franchises that are out there and available. So what's great about this partnership is, they sort of have always kind of flown under the radar a little bit, and they're a very big agency, and they did not have anybody sitting in the seat of brand partnerships before. So we came in, and we are actually their brand partnerships department. So,
oh, wow.
That's
huge.
So
Congratulations.
Really, yes. Yeah.
That's huge.
Really exciting. And we're just honored to be a part of their team and to work their roster, because they just have so much good talent. I mean, Metallica, Def Leppard, Poison. I mean, it just the list goes on and on and on.
Legacy acts.
Yeah.
That are always, no matter what happens, gonna sell
Always
tickets to their shows.
Always touring, always selling tickets. And we all know that, rock sells, and, rock is omnipresent, right? Like, how many times can you go into Walmart and find your AC/DC t-shirt or your Def Leppard t-shirt? It's there. and it's available. So we feel so fortunate to work with this agency that, encompasses all of that and a lot of new and up and coming great talent as well. So.
Wow, that is really exciting. And, it really, I can only imagine, presents limitless possibilities of what you guys could potentially be doing. So it sounds like for Brandmark, you guys are really pretty immersive to what you're able to offer your clients. And the clients predominantly are brands directly, or do you guys work with, PR firms, ad agencies? Is it just about anybody that might have a brand they're working with? Where do you see more of that business coming from? Is it more brand direct? Is it agency driven, and both?
Yeah, so we really have three pillars that we focus on. So it's the talent representation. We currently represent AGI, as I was just mentioning, Shelter Music Group, as well as BMG and their roster of talent. So it kind of checks all three boxes, right? Like agency, management, label. And then we represent some outside, some festivals that are not owned or operated at all by DWP. And that's something that we do some things down in Orange County. We do some beer festivals. We do some holiday events. We might be working on some of the cruise business. So many different events that are outside DWP's core scope. And then lastly, we do some brand representation where, for example, I can't quite talk about it yet, but we just did a really fun campaign with Kona Brewing Company, and you'll see that over the summer, the campaign that we were working on together, but in sort of helping them align with specific talent. We also represent Cantu. Cantu is a hair care brand for textured hair. In the past, we've worked on influencer events with them. We've taken them down to the Super Bowl and activated on their behalf. During the pandemic, we aligned the brand with some influencers that we thought were a really good fit. We're about to sign another hair care brand. Can't talk about it just yet, but very excited about it, which will also be doing another sort of digital media campaign, viral TikTok campaign that'll be coming up. So, it's really those three buckets of business that we specialize in. And like I said, we can be as hands-on for brands as they need us to be. But we really love it because we love getting into that creative DNA and helping be an extension of their marketing or helping come up with new fun ideas for their marketing campaigns or maybe things that they hadn't thought of yet or things that are super out of the box.
Absolutely. That's as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking to myself, it's interesting, 6 months ago where it was just desolate because of COVID. I got to think now that we're not quite there yet, but we're really getting close to the other side of this thing. And we're seeing so much kind of coming together. Clearly, you mentioned multiple things that you guys are already currently involved in. I'm guessing that 2022 especially is going to be one busy year, would you say?
Oh yeah. Everybody's calling it the Roaring 20s, right?
The Roaring 20s is right.
Yeah.
Now, what my question would be is, obviously there's all of the different properties that Danny Wimmers has, but as you've already outlined, you guys are clearly have a far bandwidth than just that. So, what is essentially, being president of this agency? What is your vision for Brandmark? What do you want to see? Where do you want to see this agency in 5 years?
Well, that's a really good question. And it's organically grown to where it is today. So I would like to continue for it to organically grow. We have a great reputation, like I said, for customer service, and we want to stand by that. I think that I would like to be recognized as a place where brands think of us first to come and align with talent or to align with an event or, if they needed other marketing needs. But I think that's really what I would like to see for the agency is, oh my gosh, I need somebody for my TV commercial. I'm going to call Brandmark because they have a stellar roster of talent. They give us great customer service, and we know that we're going to get everything that we need, and it'll check all the boxes when we're there. Or, oops, we want to we need to get on a last minute event. Brandmark's got a great roster of events, and if it's not within their roster, they will find us one that fits the mold and help us execute whatever needs to be done to make sure it comes off as a smooth program and campaign. So I think ultimately that's the long-term goal.
Sure. Making it that household name, if you will, for brands that are seeking opportunities. And let's face it, Maureen, like as we've seen over the last 20 years in the music space, music exposure is completely changed from what it once was. Yeah. And now brands and artists are more teamed up than ever before. Brands to bands, it's a thing. You see so many people that are all contending in that space. And from an artist perspective, it's what was once non-traditional revenue streams to creating revenue streams, wow. Which are something that is so important now. And I think that's something that is, I would think, be a benefit with you guys being, kind of founded in the music world. Meaning like, you speak that language, you speak the artist's language, and you have the artist's best interest at heart. And at the same time, as we were saying, it's interesting, like at one point, when you wanted to perform at South by Southwest, or you wanted to perform on some, influential festival, it was, agents and people like that you're approaching, to where now you hear more and more people being directed, like where you got to get on the side of the brands and the people that are writing the checks to pay for these festivals and these things. So I would think that that's got to be, kind of a delicate balance, if you will, meaning knowing how that a brand's vision and a band's vision kind of come together. How do you discern that? I mean, because you really would have to be very immersively knowledgeable of the artist you're working with, what they're looking for, kind of what their propositions are and what they're not, if you will. So would you say that's something that you guys have to be conscious of all the time?
Yeah, it's number one. It's the most important factor, and we really try to communicate that to all of our team members and managers and agents and partners, that it's got to be authentic, and, the buzzword, right? That's the newest buzzword out there, but it's true. The brands are a lot smarter than they ever were, and there's so many more opportunities than there ever were. And everybody's sort of competing for that dollar more than ever, just, with the whole boom of influencers. And, you don't just have to go to music or actors anymore. There's all sorts of different resources that a brand can lean into to reach a wide audience. So for us, we always go to the talent first and say, what do you love? What, if you could be a spokesperson for any brand, who would it be? And then go target that company or that handful of people. Like, it's not necessarily always trying to blanket every single brand out there with these new opportunities, because some of these buyers are getting 500 emails a day in their inbox. And the one that's going to stand out is the one that actually is meaningful and the one that actually has a true connection. And
that's authentic.
That's authentic. And the artist is going to feel good about it when they're repping it too, because they're like, oh, cool. Like, I've been using, I'll use an obvious one, an iPhone my whole life. And now Apple wants to work with me. Like, that feels good. The artist feels good about it. The brand feels good about it. Nobody's trying to force write a check, because, if you're just going to take a check and it's like, for Doritos, but you don't eat chips at all, you're not going to feel good about doing that commercial. You're not going to feel good about making that social media post and telling your fans that you love Doritos when you really don't. Yep. So that's, for me, always the biggest thing. And we put together a brand survey that's got a ton of questions on it and try to just really get into the DNA of what they love. And then we take a step back and look on their Instagram pages and look at all the press photos and dig anything up we can online. Like, oh my God, you were wearing that John Barbados jacket. Should we go after them? Like, I see you guys wear a lot of Vans. Should we be targeting them? And trying to figure out what actually makes sense in their life and like what moments they could best speak to. So yes, like I'll give you a quick example. I won't say names, but it was one of the first major offers I ever got. And it was from the brand K-Swiss, and we took it to the talent, and we were kind of given the directive of like, yeah, go ahead, go wide, no big deal. And we turned it into management, and they were like, no, like, we only wear Converse. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh.
Well, I thought we were going wide here. Like, okay. And that was like a very early lesson learned. And, great. Like, it's good. It was a good thing that the artist turned it down because they realized they couldn't be authentic to the brand. So probably saved the brand. They probably did them a favor, saved them some money and, did them a favor. But, after that, the brand didn't talk to me again. They were like, you said you could get this done.
You're like, yeah.
We had to change our heart. So
here's the thing about that.
That kind of stuff happens, but it's all good because those sorts of things are so important. Like I said, everybody wants to be able to connect in a very meaningful way with their audiences, whether it's the talent or the brand. So finding that marriage is super important.
And I got to think now, and it's the obvious question, but like, how does the digital realm play into all this? Because while we know that concerts and festivals are coming back, 2022 is likely going to be the year we see that come to fruition. But we know that it's going to be a different scape and a different scope of what we knew before the pandemic. So how does that play into your strategy then for, say, brands that are coming that are maybe just interested in strictly doing something digital, that are looking to go a completely different route?
Well, it's interesting because the talent, there's a lot of talent that saw an opportunity in the digital realm, and like Twitch, for example, went on Twitch, started creating their own programming, creating their own content, being very aggressive with it. And they're probably going to come out on the other side of this pandemic bigger than they were before because they were able to leverage these platforms like Twitch and TikTok, right? And be able to, they got the content game and now they're actually monetizing it and making money. And now, when they were just touring, they were just reaching the US audience, and now they're reaching a global footprint. And they're going to come off, much bigger than they were before. So I think for brands who, and just in what we did during the pandemic was create digital programming, create digital content, got in the pay-per-view space. Like, we were fortunate enough to take the time to get the understanding, to get the education, to be able to have that as an added asset that we can offer our partners, when we get back to real life, which is super important. So we are also about to make another big announcement here in a few weeks, which maybe this will air after that. We'll see. But I think we'll have more avenues and opportunities to offer digital programs and campaigns. And I think we'll be able to leverage more than just our social media pages. Because again, we also took the time to study it, learn. Like, we all feel like we went and got an MBA during the pandemic, something that we were never able to do before because we never had the time. So yeah, I mean, listen, if a brand just wants to do a digital campaign, there are opportunities out there for days on days on days. So, because there's so many people with such large followings now, again, it's a matter of finding the right ones that properly align and come off authentic, right? Because, that engagement piece is so important. I sometimes guide brands to potentially work with, more of a micro influencer versus a macro influencer, right? Somebody that's got less than 100,000 people in their following is probably still chatting with them, commenting on their posts, like having interactions with people who are commenting on the video that they just posted or whatever it is, versus when they have 25 million, it's very hard for them to manage all of that, and they very likely hired a company and it might not even be them behind there anymore. You could be talking to an assistant or somebody at an ad agency or somebody totally different. So, it's about the kind of content. It's about what they want to achieve from a digital campaign. Are you just looking for brand awareness? Great. Then let's go with somebody that's got 20 million users and have them do a paid social post for you. But are you looking for engagement? Maybe we need to take a step back and find somebody that aligns with your values and then make something really, like a really fun campaign that would actually garner the engagement.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, and I would imagine that it's probably more about the marriage of the two. You know, from the conventional event to the digital event and how those two marry moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, so let me ask you this, Maureen. So as this is something that you've been, as you said, this is something you've been doing already, but then you guys actually just kind of turned it into something official. But what has been the biggest challenges, plural, challenges that you guys have been up against getting Brandmark launched and where you're trying to get it positioned now?
Bandwidth. You know, we're still not sure if our festivals and events will happen towards the end of the year. You know, we're planning for events, but we don't have a crystal ball. And while everything feels really good, we're not there yet. Like, I feel like I won't be running to the bank until we see this band's on stage and the lights are on and everybody's working and everybody's back to work and the fans are in the house buying drinks and singing along to all their favorite lyrics, right? Because it's still a little early. You know, I hate to say that. So, you know, in launching an agency during this time, we staffed way back down during the pandemic. We're starting to staff back up, but you know, I would love to hire 5 more people right now, and we can't. So we still have to be, you know, strategic with the partnerships that we do take on, so that way we can service the clients we have and give them the really good service that they deserve. I never want to stretch myself too thin or any of our team too thin. So it's really important to manage time, right? Because time is a non-renewable resource. Once it's gone, it's gone. And I would say that that's one of our most valuable things that we have right now that we're very carefully managing. So that is probably our biggest challenge at the moment until we can, you know, get some shows on the books and make sure that everything's happening.
No, I hear you, girl. And I think it's kind of a similar situation for many of us where, you know, the core of our businesses is still kind of on hold. You know, speaking from the perspective of an experiential agency owner, just where there's so much that's coming up now and we're hearing more and more going on, well, potentially going on. You know, and RFPs actually going around again and things that are exciting because, you know, 6 months ago, it was literally like tumbleweeds going down the proverbial professional hallway.
Yeah.
But I also got to believe that it's timing is everything. Yeah. So it's just a question of, I think, being able to stay persistent and consistent in that space so that you can get to that point, because it's inevitably going to come. It's inevitably going to come when it's back. It's just a matter of when. So I'm curious. So for anybody out there that's listening, what do you want to be the main takeaway here when they think of Brandmark?
If you're looking for really great talent, we've got your back. If you're looking for really great events, we've got your back. If you need help marketing or building experiential footprints or aligning with influencers, we've got your back. So we can be here as a full service entertainment platform to execute any sort of brand initiative inside of music and entertainment, but our core is music.
Brandmark Agency, Maureen Valker Barlow, president of the Brandmark Agency. They've got your back. You heard it here on EventSpeak with me, Big John. Maureen, where can people find you guys on the web for more information about the Brandmark Agency?
TheBrandmarkAgency.com.
TheBrandmarkAgency.com. Maureen, it's always a pleasure to see you, and I'm just so incredibly happy for you. And for all of you watching that maybe saw the first interview, Maureen and I go back a very long time. We've known each other since you were working in catering on the Warped Tour.
That's right.
And I was running around there in my little band at the time. And look at you now.
Like world.
Yeah, I know. It's just so, to me, it's an incredibly gratifying experience doing the show and having the opportunity to talk in these cases like this with old friends of mine, that to just see what you're doing now and to see how well you're doing now. And, at the risk of sounding condescending, I'm very proud of Maureen. It's really amazing to see what you're doing. And please, always know that you've got a voice here on EventSpeak. And as your news and stuff come up, as you've seen, you made our first round of the Event Minute, which is a new show with Chris Loxamana Media here on EventSpeak. But we will be blasting out every week doing, hey, what's going on in the event world. So if you guys have news, things you want people to know about, things that we can help get behind, please don't be afraid to reach out. I'm Big John still. This is still EventSpeak with me. You can find us at eventspeak.com to continue the conversation over there. Reminding all of you out there now more than ever to stay vigilant, stay kind, and take care of yourselves and each other. Maureen, we'll see you next time. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks. Stay safe.